I feel dumb. So, first things first, I'll note that game I just played prior to this was called Eternal Space Rogue as opposed to Rogue Space Marine. Rogue Space Marine is actually another game that was basically 7-year-old some time ago. Rogue Space Marine, I think it was this one. Yep, so this is basically another 7-year-old that was basically submitted in 2015. But, nope, it's not Rogue Space Marine, it's Eternal Space Rogue. I also feel dumb because I was able to drop my weapon, I didn't know about it. X to drop your weapon. I'm not sure if there's something wrong, but looking at the screenshot here, there's basically like, X to drop weapon, so I missed something. Maybe like, I just didn't see it for some reason, but whatever. Or maybe it's like in the browser only, just like, description now. There is like, both basically like, the run game here in the browser as well as like a downloadable, so it's possible that they're different in that way. Also, apparently, it's like an audio start, which is basically why it's basically using the Windows build as opposed to the web build, but whatever. Alright, so the game I'm playing today is called Murder Most Foul by Lone Spelunker. A murder most foul. On a dark night, a lonely old mansion, there has been a murder. So, clue. Made a roguelike. You played a part of a tenacious detective who will scour the mansion for clues and bring the murderer to justice. The game procedurally generates a murder mystery for each game, so each case is different. Wander around the mansion using the arrow keys, bump into things to investigate them, or to interrogate witnesses. If you need help, press I to use your intuition and highlight areas that might need more inspection. Press Tab to switch between the map view, your notebook, and your mind castle. Your notebook lists all the clues you have found, and your mind castle is a grid of suspects, weapons, motives, and murder locations, which you can use to keep track of your deductions. When you think you have a clear picture of what's happened that night, go see the inspector and make your accusation. Will you identify the killer or will they escape justice? It's all up to you. The game was submitted as an entry to the 2023 7-day Roguelike Game Jam. It was created in 7 days. So it's apparently lo-fi, mystery, pixel art, and roguelike. And what does lo-fi stand for? Just to throw that out there. Low of or like sound recognition of low quality and high 5 qualities. Let's look at better one here. The production or reproduction of audio characterized by an unpolished, rough sound quality. So apparently we got like rough audio. All right, interesting. All right, so there's obviously a browser-based one for this one, but there is also no download for this one. So we are playing the browser for this one. All right, so let's run a mystery. All right, so a murder has occurred. You have been called to the old mansion on the hill to interview the suspects, examine the locations, find the murder weapons, and determine the motives of the suspects. Can you catch the murderer? In this game, you will solve a procedurally generated mystery. Choose a mystery complexity to generate. So you can have short, moderate, lengthy, or tangled. Because I'm on a timer, obviously we'll do short, but obviously you can have up to 6 suspects. Use arrow keys and spacebar to choose an option. You can press Tab or M to enter your mind castle. Alright, so Tab basically brings up our notebook, our mind castle, and then we're back here. So notebook, you have not found any clues yet. Search around the mansion and use your intuition to find and discover some clues. Blah blah blah, and then there's like suspect room weapon. So let's go find some stuff then. Now obviously WASD doesn't work because it's basically W for wayfind. So if I press W, you can basically see like where we're basically going. I doesn't do anything here, I guess. Let's just go to this guy. There's no animation apparently, so that's worth noting. There is no audio in this game, so I guess lo-fi means something else. Good evening, Detective. I'm Inspector Brown. I've called you here because I need your help with this baffling murder. You will find the body in the study, But there will be clues to the murder all over the mansion. I have already ascertained a few important points you should know. Each suspect was in a different room at the time of the murder. You need to discover which. Each suspect had one possible murder weapon at the time of the murder. You need to discover who had each weapon. Each suspect had a different motive. Use your notebook to keep track of the clues in your mind castle to work out your deductions. When you have a clear picture of who was where, and you know their motives and what weapon they may have had, return here to me. I sent evidence about the body. I sent evidence about the body to the coroner's office. That should give us the final piece of this puzzle. Then you can make your accusation. I still haven't heard from the coroner about the body. Keep looking for clues while we wait. What can I do to help? So nothing next. What do we know so far? I've already ascertained a few important points you should know. Each suspect was in a different room at the time of the murder. You need to discover which. So basically, as a recap of what you just said. I need a hint. Very well. First, make sure you have found all the clues. Carefully look around the mansion. For instance, have you looked in the Amaros room? Don't forget to use your intuition by pressing the I key. That will help you focus on what may be important in the room. Thanks. Alright, let's get our hint. So, have you looked in the South Hall? So basically it's like giving you ideas of where to look around if you haven't looked around yet. Alright, nothing next. Alright, let's get in here. And you walk around the mansion and enter via the servants' quarters. Alright, so we enter via the servant quarters. So if I press W, the servants' quarters is right here. And the study is basically over here. Alright. So there's the way up. And if I press up, so I guess I want to go. So that leads basically outside. There's another entrance via the kitchen here. And then there's an entry hall down here. So obviously the entry hall is where I want to basically, go. But you go through the door outside and walk around to the front of the mansion. Okay. So let's go this way. Go through the door to entry hall. Overturned chair. Interesting. So we want to go over here to the study. You go through the door to the den. Okay, so a murder most foul. So MME Salam Hastings was found dead in the study. But was she murdered there or elsewhere? The victim was marked by vicious slashing and stabbing. So a slashing or stabbing weapon maybe. So not blunt force trauma. Let's see here. So let's press I. So she was found dead in a study, but she was murdered there or elsewhere. Blah blah. So this is the recap of what we've basically seen already. Lots of dusty old books irrelevant to this case. So we can look around here, but there's nothing in here. Nothing in the pot plant. Alright, so the creepy Morose painting of the creepy Morose person. Alright, let's go to the entry hall. I see an overturned chair, so let's go see what that's all about. Broken chair in the entry hall. The chair has been struck and knocked over, suggesting there was a struggle here. Was this the murder location? Alright, so if I press tab, we can see stuff here. So broken chair in the entry hall. An overturned broken chair in the entry hall led you to suspect that that may be the murder location. So probably she was murdered basically in the entry hall. So room, entry hall. Scribble notes. You find a small scribble note that mentions something about a hidden item in the South Hall. Okay, so the detective mentioned something about or the inspector mentioned something about the South Hall. So that's basically over here. To get up there, I have to take the staircase, I guess. So Go to the door for yard. We know where Cern's course is, right? So let's go this way. We walk around and imagine an interview at the Cern quarters. Alright, let's go up here. To North Hall. So I'm in the North Hall right up here. That's basically up there. So that leads to the art staircase over here near the kitchen. Alright, good to know. And there's also the Amaros room over here, by the way, so we have to go check that out as well. So, okay. Scroll note. Oh god, so it is pop up if you press I when there's stuff in the room. Blurry photograph. You find a blurry photograph showing a gathering of people. It's difficult to make out. But using some clues in the picture, you can ascertain that some of the people in attendance are the person desperate to protect a child, and a person who had a Bowie knife. Bloodstain in North Hall. You find a bloodstain in the floor here. Could this have been the murder location? Alright, interesting. So we have multiple places for, like, you know, stuff. Bowie knife. I have identified the Bowie knife that I found in the entry hall as possible murder weapon. I should try to determine who may have had it at the time of the murder, where they were, and what possible motive they may have had to use this weapon. So no clue about it. Everyone has a card, and you're basically trying to, like, discern, like, you know, narrow, like, down stuff basically by, like, you know, elimination. So if someone has a Bowie knife in their cards, and, like, you know, that's not the weapon. But I guess we actually have a Bowie knife, so actually is the weapon. So possibly it's a Bowie weapon. They're possibly looking to protect a child. Bloodstain in North Hall. You found bloodstain in the floor in North Hall. The strong suggests violence was done there. Could it have been the murder location? Book attorney entry hall. It was overturned, but not, you know, that's all it was. Blurry photograph. Scribble note. So protect the child. That's a good motive. And possibly in the North Hall. We got a motive and we got a room. We got a Bowie knife. That could be used as well. So let's do this. So there's just something just to sort of, like, you know, get us along here. Alright, you go through the door to the South Hall, so there's something here possibly. Oh, is that a suspect? Testimony. Deduction. You interview Wade Jacobin. They have several things to say, but the ones that are relevant to the investigation lead you to strong suspect that exactly one of two possibilities are true. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife, and whoever was desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. Interesting. So, someone was desperate to hide something and they had the Bowie knife in the North Hall. Well, they weren't in the North Hall. So, they had a Bowie knife and they weren't in North Hall. Okay. But they weren't in North Hall. So, we know that's true, or that's true. That is right, by the way, the X right there, so we'll leave that be. Protect a child, that does seem right, though. Ah, you found something! What did I find? The Bowie knife! You feel a tingling sense of unease as you look down at the Bowie knife. Is this possibly the murder weapon? What is it doing here? Who had it at the time of the murder? Why was it used? So the Bowie weapon's in the North Hall. Or in the South Hall. So is this guy, for that matter. So the Bowie weapon was in the North Hall. Well, it's in the South Hall, rather. Let's just explore around this room a little bit more. I bet there's more stuff. Oh. So, you interview Wade Jackman about his whereabouts. His suspicious behavior and his testimony of his own whereabouts leads you to identify him as a suspect. Alright, well. It's Wade Jockman. I've identified Wade Jockman as a suspect. He can be found in the South Hall. I should try to determine where he was at the time of the murder, what murder weapon he may have access to, and his possible motive. I strongly assume he had access to a Bowie knife, but, who knows? Alright, well, I was told to go to the Amaralis room at some point, so let's go here. Go through the door to the Amaralis room. Alright, so here we got Damien Beffery. You interview Damien Beffery about his whereabouts. His suspicious behavior and his testimony of his whereabouts leads you to identify him as a suspect. Well, I already know this, but whatever. Threatening note. What's this? It seems to be a threatening note to MME Salam Hastings. It appears that someone was bested to experience kill thrill. Okay. A sepia-tinted photograph. You discover a sepia-tinted photograph that brings to light evidence that whoever was desperate to hide an affair did not have the Bowie knife. Okay. So, that's interesting. So, let's just go through his stuff here. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife. I have a, distinct feeling that perhaps, maybe Jackman is lying to me. So, I discovered evidence that whoever was desperate to hide an affair did not have the Bowie knife. I found a blurry photograph showing a gathering of people. I can't make out most of it, but through clues in the photograph, I can say for certain that some of the people in attendance are persons desperate to protect a child. And the person who had the Bowie knife. So someone else had the Bowie knife, and someone was desperate to protect a child. So a person looking to protect a child did not have the Bowie knife. So they did not have this Bowie knife. And they weren't in the North Hall. And who had the Bowie knife was not in the North Hall. So that guy was not in the North Hall. He did not have the Bowie knife. The person who did have the Bowie knife was somewhere else. Over here or over here. Alright, so I got two suspects thus far. A clue. You discover evidence that MME Victoria Adams was desperate to protect a child. Alright, so Victoria is the one looking to protect a child. Okay. So we know who is looking to protect a child. She did not. She wasn't in North Hall, and she wasn't holding a Bowie knife. Good to know. A sepia-tinted photograph. You discover a sepia-tinted photograph that brings light evidence that Damien Bafford was not in the entry hall. Okay, so he wasn't in the entry hall, this guy. So Damien was not in the entry hall. Let's just take this off. I'll put checkbox, but I actually know what it is, right? So hide an affair and protect a child are two different things, by the way. So I gotta go through this a little bit more carefully, I guess. So whoever was desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife and was not in the North Hall. So protect an affair. They had the Bowie knife, and they weren't in the North Hall. Right, so someone had that, and they didn't have this. You found a scribbled note that mentions that something interested in the South Hall, don't really care. The person desperate to protect a child in tents, and the person who had the bowie knife. Two people are basically there. That basically says telling you like they aren't the same person. I've discovered evidence that whoever was desperate to hide an affair did not have the bowie knife. Oh, so the person who was desperate for did not have the bowie knife. So that means whoever wanted to experience the kill thrill would have had the bowie knife. Okay. That's what this like is all about. It's just process of elimination. You discovered evidence that MMV Adams was desperate to protect a child. I found blah blah. Someone sent to MF Salome Hastings, certain that someone was desperate to experience the kill thrill. Broken chair in entry hall. Bloodstain in North Hall. You may find a bloodstain in the floor in North Hall. That's generally just the bounces down there. Could have been the murder location. Probably because it's got bloodstains. Bowie knife. I've identified the bowie knife that I found in the entry hall as a possible murder weapon. I should try to determine who may have had it. Blah blah. Alright, so let's get out here. Here's the Marigold room, by the way. There's nothing in there. Here's this one. Nothing in here. And while we're basically upstairs, we'll just try and like search everything up here, right? Before I like, head along, so master bedroom. Nothing in the master bedroom. The entry hall. Let's see what the inspector has to tell me now. I need a hint. Have you looked in the den? So there's something else in the den. Okay. Let's go to the den. I think there's some issue with like, the victim because I'm not actually seeing her as a clue. Obviously she was stabbed, but it's not actually registering that she was stabbed, so. Newspaper article. You find a well-rifled newspaper. Someone has been reading an article about MME Salome Hastings, and notes scribbles in the margin suggesting someone became determined to protect a child after reading it. Okay, so maybe the person who wanted to protect a child was in the conservatory, perhaps. So, protect a child might have been in the conservatory, or someone else. Or it might just be a nonsense clue. Here's the library. Hey, look at that, we found someone else. Constable Percy nods as you walk up. He tells you that, that as he was doing his rounds through here, he caught sight of someone doing something suspicious in here. He thinks perhaps that they were hiding something. He didn't get a good look at the suspect, unfortunately. But he was in here hoping to find what was being hidden. Okay. Aha, you found something. Constable Percy smiles, tips his constable hat to you, and goes on his way. Okay. So, there's something basically in here. Pocket knife. You feel a tingling sense of unease as you look down at the pocket knife. Is this possibly the murder weapon? What is it doing here, and who had it at the time of the murder? Why was it used? Okay, so that's possibly an murder weapon. So we got the pocket knife. Alright, I gotta go to the ballroom apparently. Let's see here. I'm in the entry hall right now. Servants' quarters are basically over there. I was told to go to the den, right? There's a den right to my left, so let's go over here. Missing button. You find a distinctive cheap button on the floor. Might that place a suspect in this room? If they're missing a button, sure. Bloodstain in the den. You find a bloodstain in the floor here. Could this have been the murder location? Okay. Alright, so that's here. Let's go to the Great Hall. Nothing in the servants' quarters. Let's go to the dining room. Or, we all go to the ballroom, rather, so let's go there first. There's a person. And there's a weapon. Cavalry Saber. You feel a tingling sense of unease as you look down at the cavalry saber. Is this possibly the murder weapon? What is it doing here? Who had it at the time of the murder? Why was it used? So we just have 3 weapons that are all slashy cutty type of things, so obviously they could all be weapons. Testimony detection. You interview MME Victoria Adams. They have several things to say, but the ones that are relevant to the investigation lead you to strongly suspect that exactly one of the 2 possibilities are true. The pocket knife was not in the den, and Victoria Adams was not in the den. Okay, so, good to know. So the pocket knife was not in the den, and she was not in the den. As you entering MME of Victoria Adams, she lets slip a rumor she heard about someone who is desperate to hide an affair, and that this may perhaps be why MME Salome Hastings was killed. Maybe it's the truth. Maybe it's the killer trying to throw suspicion elsewhere. Or maybe it's the killer admitting to their own motive to throw you off. But either way, it's a possible motive for the murder. So maybe the person who is desperate to hide an affair killed her. So that strongly indicates that Victoria is like not the killer, but it could also be that she's trying to throw off the truth. I need to identify who's basically missing a button at this point, so that's going to be my next thing to do. Let's see here. Kitchen and dining room I haven't searched in yet, so let's go in here. And there's the kitchen. There's the south hall. Are you missing a button? Wade Jackman looks at you defiantly. It'd be nice if I could actually look at him and see, are they missing a button or not? Damien looks at me disdainfully. And MFA Victoria looks at you with a look that makes you clear she is put out by your bothersome questions. You notice that she is definitely missing a distinctly cheap button from her clothing. Did they notice? Okay, so she's the one missing the cheap button. Alright, where's the button basically found? So button. I found a distinctive cheap button on the floor in the den. Maybe I can find a suspect who lost them. So, she was in the den. Uh-oh. I think she's lying to me. Okay, so it's possible the pocket knife might have been in the den. Oh, note by the way, it says it's possible. One of the possibilities are true. So I can basically assume that Victoria Adams was in the den and the pocket knife was not in the den. So the pocket knife was not in the den, but Victoria Adams was in the den. So that's why I basically determined from this clue, because I got the button as well. Which basically means that the other, suspect I, went through. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. Okay, so basically, whoever was desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife. So this is possibly not true. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. One of these is basically not true. It's possibly this is like it, because whoever experienced the kill through had the Bowie knife. Whoever's desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife. Okay, so this is the false one, and then whoever's desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. So, okay, so I actually did, stumble on that, incorrectly, but it still works. Alright, well, let's go back to the inspector and say hi. By the way, let's talk to her again. No, she's not going to talk to me anymore. The coroner tested the body and is certain that the murder weapon was almost certainly the Bowie knife. What can I do to help? Alright, so what do we... Oh, so whoever had the Bowie knife is the murder weapon. Okay, so I guess I found all the clues, by the way. Whoever had the Bowie knife was the killer. Well, we know it's not you, which means it's either one of these two right here. And there was no blood in the entry hall. So it's one of these two right here, by the way. Whoever had the Bowie knife. So we know that, she had the Bowie knife, which means that, she was in the den. Well, she didn't have the Bowie knife, she had something else. She either had, one of these weapons, but that's fine, we don't really care about her. We just need to eliminate her from the writing, so... The thing is, I don't have information basically here to determine if Wade was in the entry hall, or if Dane was in the entry hall, or in the North Hall, or stuff like that. I need a hint. It looks like you've found all the clues. Now you need to deduce the murder. Use your Mind Castle and notebook to make sure all the evidence you have collected is represented in the Mind Castle. Place a checkmark in cells that you know are related. For example, if Miss Smith had an artillery cannon, you would put a checkmark in a cell where they interact. That in turn would let you place an X in each suspect cell for the cannon that is not Miss Smith, and each weapon cell for Miss Smith that is not the cannon. Okay. Also, read the clues carefully. Some may offer more information than they initially seem to. Other clues might need corroborating evidence before you should take them as factual. Good luck. Okay, nothing next. So yeah, this is where it's basically all about going for the clues and figuring out what's important or not. So Damon Baffery. So this guy was a suspect. He was found in Meryl's room. I should try to determine where he was at the time of murder, what murder weapon he may have had access to, and possible motive. This guy was found in South Hall. And you were basically found in a ballroom. Bowie knife. So this is the murder weapon. I've identified the Bowie knife that I found in the entry hall as a possible murder weapon. I should try to determine who may have had it at the time of the murder, where they were, and what possible motive they may have had to use this weapon. So Bowie knife was in the entry hall. But that doesn't mean, like, you know, the murder was in the entry hall. That was in the ballroom. This was found. Why are two things in the ballroom? I'm pretty sure the pocket knife was not in the ballroom, by the way. It was found in the library. That might be a bit of a bug. Bloodstain in North Hall. You found a bloodstain floor in North Hall. The strongest suggested violence was done there. Could have been the murder location. Broken chair in the entry hall. An overturned broken chair in the entry hall led you to suspect that may be the murder location. Bloodstain in the den. You found a bloodstain on the floor in the den that strongly suggests violence that was done there. Could have been the murder location. So I know that it can't be the den because she was there. The Victoria lady. So she was there, the murder was not. So it's either the entry hall or the North Hall. So someone is desperate to experience the kill Frill with the Bowie knife. That's the motive. This is to kill Frill. Someone had been reading a newspaper article about M. Sloane Hastings, and it's just that someone may have read it and became determined to protect a child. That doesn't help me, this clue. Rumor motive. Victoria Adams recounted a rumor about someone desperate to hide an affair. It provides a possible motive, but it could be any suspect's motive. Even MME's Adams. Well, it's not hers, but it could be the other two's. That basically placed her in the den. And, you know, she's basically desperate to protect a child. Or maybe the pocket knife was not in the den. You know, it's possible that she was not in the den and the murder happened in the den. Because the pocket knife was, you know, somewhere else. I've discovered evidence that whoever was desperate to hide an affair did not have the Bowie knife. That's obvious, we already know they had to kill Frill. I found a blurry photograph showing a gathering of people. I cannot make out most of it, but through the clues in the photograph, I can say for certain that some of the people in attendance are the person desperate to protect a child, and the person who had the Bowie knife. Who does she associate with is a thing that you don't really know. I found a scribbled note that mentions that something of interest was hidden in the South Hall, and then Jacobin. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair had the Bowie knife, and whoever was desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. So, whoever was desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. That's important. Because if they weren't in the North Hall, and because she's basically in the den, they can't be in the den. Whoever had an affair was in the entry hall. Which means whoever had the Bowie knife was in the North Hall. Okay, I think I've actually cleared out that finally. It's not enough basically to clear out who basically is over here though. Oh wait, yes it is. Whoever was desperate to hide an affair was not in the North Hall. I'm getting confused. This is one of the things about these clue type games. They take forever to sort of like figure out what you're basically supposed to do, so whoever wanted to experience the kill for was in the North Hall. Oh, this is not in the North Hall. Or they were in the North Hall. So I know she was in a den, and just like other guys in the North Hall. But it doesn't actually tell me if Wade was the guy in the North Hall or the other way around is the thing, right? Ah, the boy knife. I wish I could determine who basically had to, like, these weapons here, because that could help, but, Here's the thing, I don't have any information to sort of clarify, like, who had the weapons. There's not enough really there, I don't think. That I'm seeing, at least. Unless, like, this is, like, telling me right here, like, the boy knife is in the entry hall, the pocket knife is in the ballroom. It might be a bit of an issue, because, like, the constable was, like, the constable was basically over here in, like, the library, right? And I found this here in the library, so the pocket knife was moved. I think that, the person who had a pocket knife was probably, like, you. And that's just because, like, the bowie knife was in the North Hall. It would have been like, the pocket knife in the North Hall, and I know where it basically was, or more or less. This is in the entry hall, rather, but, you get the idea. What's the bowie knife in this place? That's something sort of messed up there a little bit. I think the weapons have, like, been screwed up here, which is, like, going to throw me off a little bit. But oh well. I know it's either Damien or Wade, I guess, so let's just go by guts, I guess. One of them gave me this disable look, one gave me a non-disable look. You look at me defiantly. Look at me disdainfully. Let's just say Damien, and if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. All I can really do about it. I forgot who I'm gonna like accuse, but it's not like So North Hall, bowie knife. You're a detective. You solved the case. Maybe you'll be an inspector like me someday. You solved the mystery. Play again and generate a new procedural drama mystery to solve reload the page. Well, it was just blind luck that I basically got it, but I think there's maybe a little bit of a screw up in like the weapon generation there, or maybe there's something else I missed. But it's a clue type game. That's all you can really say about it. I hope you guys basically enjoyed the video for it. Other than that, and I used the wrong OBS software here, but whatever. Other than that, take care.